Let's go. We are now in the Omid Yomi Shir, Omid Yomi of Dir Shu, broadcasting here from Bechemesh. We have, thank you for those of you who came this evening. And we are now in the last Omud of Hazoyrek. Last Omud of Hazoyrek. I'm sorry, it's shaking. Last Omud of Hazoyrek, Dafkov Beis Omud Aleph. Let's just start because we don't have time. Hazoyrek. This Mishnah discusses the topic which we already discussed in the past, and that is when a person does a melacha, he's only chayav chatas. Let's just discuss chatas, not the other oinshin of mezid. It's shoyge chatas. He's only chayav chatas if there's chatas, meaning chatas is only there if you forgot that it's Shabbos, or you forgot that it's also to do the malacha. If while the malacha is still happening in a way that's still effective, that's still taking place, you're still dealing with the malacha, and in the middle of your malacha, you remembered, aha, that now it's Shabbos, then you're potter. You're not chayiv on neither shogeg nor mezid. If you turn in the middle of the work from shogeg to mezid in your mind, in the middle of the malacha, oh bang, it's Shabbos, or oh, it's Osir, then you turn from shogeg to mezid. If the final result was half shogeg, half mezid, as we like to say in Yiddish, nishtah nishtaher, and then you're not chayiv chatas. And we learn it from psukim, basoisa, because that is the maskona. It's the Gemara will take time to get there, right? But this is what we suppose now, and we'll get to later. Says the Mishnah, Azoyrek, Azoyrek, yeah? The person throws something, let's say daladamas in the street. Let's say the person threw the object in the street, let's say 4 amas or more. Now he threw it really innocently, not knowing today's Shabbos, in the middle of while the object was flying, playing baseball maybe. The object was flying. He remembered, oh, it's Shabbos. What do we say? Oh, what's the halacha? He doesn't say it. He doesn't say. Continues the Mishnah. Kolto acher. Let's say in the same story, instead of the person himself, instead of the object just falling on the ground, another person approached and jumped to receive the object, and the other person created hanocha. So a kir was done by one guy, and an active hanocha by the other guy. So the first guy doesn't have a kir and hanocha. The first Mishnah, the very first Mishnah, was a chiyuv because the second guy is absolutely passive, statue of liberty. The first guy is doing a kira and hanocha, while the other guy sits there like a lemele. But if the second guy is actively approaching the ball, imagine yourself a ball game. He approaches and he jumps up, he leaps up. The hanocha was created by the second guy. Shnaim she'osu pturim. One guy, Rashi says, one guy did a kira, the other one hanocha, so nobody's chayav. Continues another case of ptur, called to kelev. A dog, yeah, you threw something to the mouth of the dog, and the dog with his mouth, they jump, even if he didn't leap, even if he was passive and I threw it into the mouth of the dog, I am potter. Why am I potter? Because we know that you're only chayv if you have dalid al dalid. You're only chayv if you maniach in l'shus harabim or wherever, where on the surface of dalid al dalid, the mouth of the dog is less than dalid by dalid, and that's why you're potter. Yeah, that's Rashi. Oy shenislefa, the item got burnt. There was no hanocha. No hanocha. It's burning, right? Instead of being muna, it goes up in flames. Then we say potu. He's potu. Okay. The Gemara will have a big issue with what we said here, but right now we're just translating. Okay. We'll discuss it more later. Second case of the Mishnah. Zora classes chabura. Ben be'odom ben be'behema. You're not allowed to cause wounds, damages, injuries to people on Shabbos. Forget about Ben Odom L'Chavero now, that's another issue. But not if you cause bleeding or bruising to people or animals, you chayiv on Shabbos, it's either because of dash, or because of tzaveh, or because of shoichet. Pick your choice, but if you cause injury on Shabbos, you now throw a stone at someone for whichever reason, an animal, a bad dog, and you throw the stone on the animal, also throwing in order to cause the animal to bruise, yeah. Venizkar ad shelo nases chabura, potter, same thing. While the stone was flying to the back of that bad wolf, bad dog, whatever, and you remembered, oh, it's Shabbos now. Oh, so then again, since you switched sides in the middle of the journey of the stone, of the zrika, of the thing, you became shogeg into mezid, and the result is nothing. Nishtay, you're potter. And the Mishnah continues, Ze'aklal, this is the rule. Klal means two things. Klal means rule, as we know in Hebrew. Klal also means that on top of everything else we said now, we're adding more items. It's like those ads, we have, I don't know, we have pants and shirts and ties and suits and more. And more, dot, dot, dot. What's the more? You have to have something. That's klal. It's important to know now. When we talk about zeh klal, there's yet another item that belongs to that group of half-halves, and soon we'll have to discover what that is. Zeh klal, kol chayav v'chatois, all the maisim, the mechayev chatas on Shabbos, einan chayavin, ad shetet chiloson, v'soifon shgogo. You only chayav korban chatas if the beginning and the end were all done, kind of consistently with shgaga, I forgot that it's also, but chilos and shgaga v'soifen zodin, start b'shegeg and you finish off, I know it's Shabbos, and the object is flying now. Chilos and zodin v'soifen shgaga, the other way around. I started mezid, and in the middle I forgot that it's Shabbos, let's say that it's also Turin, your potter, ad shetet chilos and v'soifen shgaga. You only chayiv if the tchila and the soif are both shgaga. Very nice. Now, before we continue to the question, something here was missed in the Mishnah. If you've really read well the beginning of the Mishnah, something here doesn't make sense. Because what did we say at the beginning of the Mishnah? If you threw, right, and you mistakenly, shoygig, in the middle you switched your mind switched into mazid, right? And listen carefully, and there was no hanocha because it got caught by the dog's mouth or by the fire, then you're potter. Wrong, because we said each one is a separate reason by itself to say that you're potter. It's like your irreligious second cousin will tell you very happily, I don't eat ham on the Day of Atonement. It sounds very nice, but it doesn't sound nice. Meaning what? Otherwise, you do eat ham? Or you eat other foods on Yom Kippur? Yeah, in other words, why do you need to have two negatives here? Each one by itself is reason to potter, either because it switched sides in my mind, or because it rested in a place that's too small. But if you combine both of them, doesn't work right. Because the end of the Mishnah says, a klal, the rule was that if I switch sides, that's alone a reason to pater. So that's why the Mishnah is problematic. I see you have it very well. Let's see how the Gemara phrases it. Frek the Gemara, the Gemara is suggesting, inferring a diuk. Hanacha chayev. You want to tell me that if I switch sides in the middle and it rested in a nice no fire, no dogs, no other people, let's say it rested in a beautiful, perfect 4x4 in the middle of the street, then I would be chayev. But he remembered in the middle that it's Shabbos. He switched sides in his mind. Vetnan, it says in the Mishnah, it's our very own Mishnah. Right? The Sefer of the Mishnah told me, regardless of all the other funny cases of the dog and the shmog and this and that, the mere fact says the Sefer of the Mishnah, if I'm not consistent with my mind, I switch from A to B, from shogeg to mezid, or vice versa, I'm potter. So why the beginning of the Mishnah had to confuse me, right? With cases of, because there was no hanocha. And even if there was hanocha, I'm potter, right? Because my mind changed. Good? That's a question. Answers the Gemara. Now we're going to have a few suggested answers. Amar Rav Kana. The first one is Rav Kana, then we're going to see Rove. Amar Rav Kana. Seifa osnon lelechta umitna. Which means, let me just explain the pasuk. Lechta umitna is like, it reminds me a little bit, we're kids of slingshot. In other words, you have a stick, and the stick has a mitna. Mitna is a thin rope. It was mentioned already in Daf Nun Aleph. They used to use it for cats. Here Rashi talks about donkeys. Lo meshane. The kids, so you have basically a rope attached to your hand the whole time, and your zrika, your zoyrek, the piece of stick, it's like the opposite of slingshot. You throw it, but you still maintain the end of the rope in your hand. Meaning, Rav Kahana believes that. Now listen to this very, very logical idea of Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana says like that. In our, what I like to call the baseball case, if I throw the item, and the item is literally and figuratively and physically out of my hands, right? Then I don't care about my machshava, because I finished investing my power in it, right? I have a good hand, a good throw, it flies, right? The fact that while the object's in the air, my mind changes does make a difference. Therefore, he wants to say, and therefore the Reisha is talking about regular throwing. When you threw it regularly, now you're drinking your coffee, watching it, doesn't matter what you think. It's irrelevant. It's literally out of your hands. Mashenkin, the sefer that said that your mind makes a difference, it's only when you're still holding to the other end of the stick, yeah, of the rope, and you throw the stick, and you can always, as you throw it, any given second, you could pull it back. And therefore, it's still literally and physically in your hands. Right. And then your machshava makes a difference because you're still involved. You're still physically involved.
If you're
Well, what?
You want to throw it if you're not shava goes. So why are we talking about a case where
You want to throw it, but you don't know if it's Shabbos or Chol. You started off by thinking it's Chol, throwing. Remember that it's now Shabbos. If now you continue, we say your change of mind makes a difference because you're still acting, because you can still give it back. That's why the Sefer says only in such a case of where it's still revocable and my mice is still mashpia, only then I say that my change of mind makes a difference. That's what he wants to suggest. Frag the Gemara? No. The Gemara right away rejects the idea. And the Gemara says, Lechto mitna, oigde beyodehu. What do you mean? Lechto mitna is not called throwing. Throwing in Shabbos means, by definition, as we saw in Daf Tzadivov Amud Beis, when we tried to learn it from the Mishkan, the Daladamis, it's only when you throw and it's out of your hands. If I throw something and it's still attached to me halfway, in Shabbos, it's not called throwing, because Shabbos requires, my friend, Akira and Hanocha. That's not Akira. It's not Akira. If I fly a kite and I'm holding it to my hand all the time, I wasn't oiker. Oiker means disconnecting. That's aleph base of Daladamis, of anything in Shabbos. So as long as I hold it, it's not called akir. Even if I have mekavono XYZ, it's not called bichlal zrika. Therefore, we have to change our minds. Yeah, and says the Gemara, kigon sheniskaven lasus chabura. Oh, must be, you know what? There's a lechto mitna. There's a lechto mitna, but it is attached to a rope. But the person's kavana is to do what? Chabura, to hit someone. When it comes to hitting people, it doesn't make a difference if it's attached to me or not. If chas v'sholem, I would give someone a fist, chas v'sholem, and my hand is attached to my arm is attached to my body, and I'm still chayav. In other words, maybe zeh haklal, when we said you're always chayav and you can still change your mind and it makes a difference, is when I throw an object with a stone attached to the rope, yeah, and my intention is to hit someone, and then the fact that it's still attached to my hands doesn't disturb me to be mechayev me. Because only by zrika it has to be disconnected. Here it doesn't have to be disconnected. So that's the case. Zog the Gemara, no, it can't be the case. You may be right, but it's not what the Mishnah is talking about. Why? Hanami tnina. Zeh haklal, when we say zeh haklal, as I told you, that's like the joke I made before, that's and more. If I say suits, jackets, and more are jackets, I'll ask the store owner, where's your and more? Right? And much more. Suits, pants, and much more. Which more? You have nothing else to offer. So when you say zeh haklal and you're talking about throwing to hit someone, you're not adding anything because we said it already in the Resha. Let's see it in the words of the Gemara. Yeah? Hanami Tnina, we learned it already. Hazori classes chabura ben be'odom ben be'behema. You threw something, an item, a stone or something, to hit either a human being or an animal. Venizka, and you remember Achel Nasas Chabura, before the person actually was bruised, you had a Chabura Potter. So that's not the Chiddush of the Sefer. It's true. It's factually true what you're saying. Because when I throw, and I don't have to be disconnecting it. I'm throwing even with holding in order to hit someone. As long as I hit him half by mistake, and then in the middle of the way, I could have stopped and pulled back the rope, and I chose to continue it, knowing Mazid that now it's Shabbos, then I'm Potter. It's true, but it's redundant. Why does Mishnah have to say the same thing twice? Therefore, we're still in the search. We're continuing the search. Therefore, Rav is coming with a different idea. Let's repeat the question. Many times the Gemara gets, let's repeat the question. Question is very, very clear. Let's start from the back door. The Sefer said, I don't care what, where, how to, whatever happens, if I threw an item on Shabbos, thinking today is Sunday afternoon, nice and relaxed, chutz la'aretz, yeah, and it's really Shabbos afternoon, but I didn't know. In the middle of the throw, while I'm sitting like this, watching the ball, I realize it's Shabbos, I'm Potter, right? So why did the Resha tell me that such a case I'm Potter if it was accepted by a dog or by fire? Why? Even if it was accepted by the regular Rishus Harabim and still Potter, that's a problem with the Mishnah. Continues Rove to suggest an answer. Elo marove. B'ma'avir. Really, we're talking about b'ma'avir. Very good. What's b'ma'avir? What's our problem here? What's ma'avir as opposed to zoyrek? Zoyrek is out of my hands. Rav kind of believes, Rav Kahana, that if I threw it and it's out of my hands, excuse the pun, then it doesn't matter what I think anymore. It's not in my hands. But if I take an item and I walk with the daladamas b'shusabim, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm walking and walking from point X to point Y. In the middle of my walk, my gait, I all of a sudden realize it's Shabbos and I continue to walk, then I'm Potter. And that's a very good case. Why? Because really, then I could stop and I'm still acting. It's not out of my hands, it's in my hands. And every second of the journey, I could stop in the middle. And I chose to actively continue to walk, knowing it's Shabbos. You can call me a bad boy. Well, I did 2 active shoygeg and 2 active steps, amos, b'mezid. Then really says Rava, then the Sefer said, because I'm still acting, my mind makes a difference. And Mimela, that's considered the end of the journey of 4 Amos and Potter. Masha'en ken, the Reisha is when you throw. And when you throw it, it's out of your control, out of your mind, right? And then Enochinami, I would be chayav if I changed my mind. I'm only Potter because it was accepted by the dog. That's Rava. Let's see it inside. Baruch Hashem. Ela Marove, yeah. B'ma'avir. In one word, he said it. Ma'avir. When you pass it, then it makes a difference when you change from shoygeg to mezid. But we are in daf Kuf Beis of Aleph. Yeah, a few lines after the beginning, after the Mishnah. You can't say that Zeh Klal, what the Sefer said at the end of changing my mind and therefore being Potter, is only about walking, because the beginning of the Mishnah spoke about Zrika. In other words, so it has to be something related to Zrika. Meaning, let me give you the example. I'm starting a men's fashion place, I have pants, I have, trousers, they're called in England, suits, ties, and more. Would you expect and more to be tomatoes? No, and more would be cufflinks, right? It has to be related. So if you say zrika and more, it has to be zrika, not havoro. Havoro is too different. And therefore, Elo Marove. Now we come to the final answer, final answer. Rove gives you a very, very easy answer. He changes the Reisha, kind of. Elo Marove Tartik Tani. You misunderstood the Reisha. It's not both, it's either or. Hazoirik Venizka, a person threw it on Shabbos and in the middle remembered, it's Shabbos. Me'achel Sheotzto Miyodoi. After it left his hand, he changed his mind. Inami. It's a separate case. All right, let me scream it if I could have. Alternatively, a separate case, a separate kula case. The kol to acher, kol to kelev shanisra for potul. Posher, 2 separate reasons for ptul. Meaning, ptul number 1, you threw it, and even though it's out of your control and already out of your hands, if you change your mind in the middle, you are potul. Unlike what we just said. Like we said at the very beginning, we're back to square one. He starts off throwing his baseball thing. How much? Let's say, I don't know, baseball is a good example. We need only 4 amis. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you started throwing, not knowing it's Shabbos, then you realize it's Shabbos. You are potu. Bingo, finished. Another ptur is, I threw it all the way with the same mindset the entire way, but it landed in the wrong place by the dog, which is lesson 4 before, fired and consumed it, then I'm potter. Fair pashut. Very good. Very nice. Now, Ravashi Omar, Rashi points out, what's that klal? Says Rashi, so what's that klal adding? Now you can say, because really we believe that throwing, I am potter when I change my mind in the middle, then you can say that and more is really havoro, because now they are similar. Because both zrika and havoro, really both of them, if I change my mind in the middle, I'm potter. And now they're similar. Beforehand, we wanted to differentiate one chayav, one potter. And I say, no, they're very similar. When I throw and I change my mind, I'm potter. When I walk with it and I change my mind, kol sheken that I'm potter. And that's that klal. That's Rove. Very good. Lamaisa, we can now, we can now, whatever, and I can now breathe freely because the cloud that we always do, we saw Dafdan, it happens to be right. Yeah. Basically, you changed your mindset, change, you remember the middle, you're potter, even when it's out of your hand. However, Ravashi is giving us a certain caveat here. Ravashi is making like an exception. Sorry. Ravashi Omar, Isur Mechser Vachiktani. There's another way to read the Reisha. How do we read the Reisha? Hazoirek, listen to this. Hazoirek, a person threw the item, Venizkar Macher Shotztom Yodoy, okay. He remembered in the middle of the item being in the air, oh, it's Shabbos, yeah. Call to Acher, he does join them together. Call to Acher, call to Kelev Shenisrafa, Potu. Yes, yes, yes. There was a non-hanocha. There was hanocha, which is not hanocha too small, burning another person. Hanacha chayav. Ooh. If it rested, you're chayav. That's against everything we said. No, 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 no. You know, b'medvar mamurim, huge exception to the rule. Shechozar v'shochach. Avaloi chozar v'shochach potu. Let me explain. Very, very easy. Shechozar v'shochach. A long road, long way. Good baseball game. He threw it, forgetting it in Shabbos. He remembered in the middle that it's Shabbos, and then again he forgot. He saw a guy with a shtreimel, it's Shabbos. Then he saw a guy with jeans and t-shirt, it's Chol. He doesn't know what's happening. He thought it's Shabbos. He thought it's Chol. Shabbos, Chol. Then he's really Potu. Why? Because the only important items, as we said many times in Havor, are Akira and Anocha. Since your Akira was with a mistake, the Hanocha was with a mistake on the other side of the rainbow. Akira and Hanocha were both with mistake Shabbos. We join them together and we'll say you're chayav korban. Although in the middle there was a period of knowing it's Shabbos, that does make a difference. According to Ravashi, that's what the Mishnah says. Yeah. Chozar v'shochar, then he's chayav chatos. Avaloi chozar v'shochach. Let's say halfway he thought that it's Sunday, and the other half, including the landing, he thought that it's Sunday. Potu. He agrees to Rava, and Rava may agree to him too. If it's the regular half, I think it's Sunday. Half, including the landing, crucial stage, I think that now is Shabbos. Then he's Potu. We finish off very nicely the klal. Shekol chavei chatos en chayav and shetet chalosim v'sefen shgogo. Chayuv chatas, the beginning, as they say, the beginning is good, the end is good. You know, like in good stories, there's a good beginning, there's a happy end, there's drama in the middle. That's all good. If the beginning he had shichicha, the end he had shichicha, although in the middle he had no shichicha, but he knew it's Shabbos, he's still called on the whole shoicheach, shoigeng, and he's chayv chatas. That, according to Ravashi, is the rule, and I believe Rabbi may believe that too, as we'll see later. Okay, very good. Okay, Itma. Now we're going to see more on the same, now a different case. You know, before we continue, I highly recommend you flip to page Kuf Hey Amud Aleph. Kuf Hey Amud Aleph, at the very, very end of Aboyne, the last Mishnah, we have to know this Mishnah, no other way about it, before we continue. Says the Mishnah, very easy and very short. A person forgot that it's Shabbos 9 o'clock in the morning. He really forgot. He thought, yes, morning, wake up late, all, woozy doozy, panda-eyed, and what? And he thinks that it's Sunday, and he wrote the letter Aleph. Shabbos, it's Shabbos, Shachar, it's lunchtime. And then again, he went to sleep in the afternoon. After he remembered Shabbos and he wrote one letter, he again forgot it's Shabbos, long Shabbos, summer. He forgot it's Shabbos and he wrote Beis. And then he remembered. So each Halem had one letter written in it, not two. How many letters are you chayiv in order to be chayiv? Two. Very good. Zok the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel mechayiv. Rabbi Gamliel says the fact that in the middle he remembered, the remembering, the realization does not break it into two. As we'll see soon, yeah. Therefore, you chayv the two together, even though they were done in two periods of forgettings. Lamaisa, the remembering doesn't break halves and make each half be separate. The chachamim poitrin. Chachamim say no. Each action was in the box of a different helem, Therefore, you're potter. Zok the Gemara, not giving up on you. B'maika miflagi, what's the argument? Look, Rabban Gamliel Sava, ein yadir lechatzi shiur, Rabban Sava, yesh yadir lechatzi shiur. We have to understand that before we continue. Says Rabban Gamliel, when the Torah talks about forgetting, doing something forbidden, and then remembering, and then bringing a korban, oy hoy the elav chatasoi, when you sinned and you realized, oh my gosh, I made an entire full chet, 2 letters, then we say, aha, you have to bring a korban. If you now forget and again write 2 letters, you have another one. But forgetting and remembering in the middle does not break one mice of 2 letters into two. We don't deal with fractions, says Rabban Gamliel. Right? Now, Rabbanon say no. Rabbanon say knowledge, realizing, having the aha moment does help you also, not only to have one chiyuv, also to break 2 letters, 2 maisim, into two. Since there was one maisa broken by Yediyah and another maisa of shoygig with another Yediyah, there are 2 maisim, and therefore the Yediyah breaks them into two. Now you're potter because you didn't do one maisa in one helem. That's what Chachamim believe. So Rabban Gamliel basically, it's very easy. Rabban Gamliel says basically, if you have 2 half maisim done, broken by change of mind between them, it's not like the first case we had. It's not like the flying object, yeah? I did, done, right? Now I remembered, I realized, then I do the other half. Says Rabban Gamliel, no, it's considered as if you did the whole thing together because the middle didn't really break. It's all, it's less than one. It's as if you have one element. Beautiful, beautiful. As if you have one element. Very good. Rabbanan Sabbath, no, you have 2 elements, each one containing half is garnished in your potter. Very, very nice. Baruch Hashem. Now, oh, technology. Baruch Hashem. Zok the Gemara. Itma. Now, having that in mind will make it much easier for you to understand the following case. Listen to this. Itma. How many amos do I have to walk or throw on Rishus Rabim to be chayav chatas? I know you know. How much? 4. You know very well. Itmar, shte amos b'shoigeg, shte amos b'mezid, shte amos b'shoigeg. You heard that? 2, 2, 2, 6 altogether. He basically either walked or threw. You're going to see 2 amos shoigeg, then 2 amos he continued b'mezid, and then another 2 amos b'shoigeg. What would be the halacha? Yeah, is he potter or chayav? Rabbi Omar potter, Rabbi Omar chayav. Rabbi says potter, Rabbi says chayav. At the end, you'll see that they don't really argue. Now, I'm not going to waste my time. Let's quickly compare it to what? What happened in the middle? Amazing. It's very similar to the case of the letters, right? I basically made a mistake with half a shear, only 2. Realized, oh, hey, Shabbos. And then again, I did the other half, the other fraction. So, are you chayav or potter? Says Rabba Omar potter. Let's focus on Rabba. Everyone would agree in this case, you're potter, even Rabban Gamliel. Wow. Rabbi Omar potter, afil Rabban Gamliel. Why? Afil Rabban Gamliel domar en yedil lechatzi shiur. Rabban Gamliel says that if you do half and then remember and then another half, you are chayav. Here you would agree you're potter. Why? Beautiful chiluk. Awesome. We're differentiating between this and writing. Over there, when you finish the shir, when you look at the end of the day at your work of art, Aleph Beis, they're both done b'shegig. The minimum that's mechayiv you, let's say write a letter of Shtikl Torah 5,000 words. The first 2 letters are the mechayiv, right? You wrote the 2 first letters, my friend, b'shegig. Finished. Therefore, you chayiv. I don't care about your stoppage and your shtiyot. At the end of the day, you did Aleph b'shegig, Beis b'shegig, you're fried. Mashenkin here, watch the guy. 1 second. He took it to b'shegig, to b'mezid, freeze right there. Freeze right there, even though he doesn't. The 2 and 2 are the mechayev. And those 2 and 2 were half shogig, half mezid. And last time I checked, half shogig, half mezid is really what? Really is a petul. That's why you're potter. Now continues the Gemara. However, yeah, there is a big caveat here. Now, when do you consider his mezid change of mind to be important? Oh, if he threw it in the air and it's out of his hands and it's in the middle of the flight, remember we said a few minutes ago? If it flies in the air, started shogeg, middle mezid, and ended shogeg, it's all shogeg and you chayav. So if you're zoyrek, of course you'd be chayav. You started good and ended good. Ela b'mavir, mavir. The case over here, according to Rabba, is mavir, meaning you walked two and you walked another two, being able to stop it. When you're able to stop it in the middle to Amos, it's called as if you're actively doing it with Mazid. Then, of course, you're Potter. I'm acting to Amos B'Shoigeg. I'm acting physically, knowing and still walking, and I could stop and I don't. The second to Amos Mazid, that's called doing half Shogeg, doing half Mazid. I'm Potter. The other two, too late. Don't talk to me about the other two at the end. Too late. You created four Amos. The first four Amos is what matters because that's the Mechaim, and you flunked there. You didn't have Shogeg F Mazid. You're Potter. But She'enkin, in the case of the letters, you did Aleph 9 o'clock in the morning, Beis 9 o'clock at night, which sometimes is still Shabbos. But at the end of the day, I don't care. You did both. The minimum chiyuv of 1 plus 1 was Shogeg. So I don't care what happened in the middle. That's the chiluk according to the first opinion, which is Rabbah. That's Rabbah. Rove, very misleading gear sayer. I'm very upset because other Gemara's have it Rove. Rove, not Rabbah. Rove Omar Chayev. Now, Rove says in this case of two and two shogeg, two mezi, two shogeg, you chayav chatas, the two of both corners, beginning and end, join together, and you chayav chatas. It's half a shear. Rabbanan, what did they say about writing the letters? If I wrote 9 o'clock in the morning, Aleph, I forgot, remembered, Papa, then again forgot and wrote base, I'm Potter, because they believe that the remembering in the middle breaks them into two fractions that don't connect. Why is it that here you'd be chayav? I'll tell you why. Hossam, over there, writing, again, is different to walking or throwing. By the writing, the biyodoi, when you write Aleph, can you still write base? Hopefully, he's not handicapped, Baruch Hashem. Aleph, right? You can still write base. In other words, the floor is yours, the world is yours. You can write base, not write base, do whatever you want. And therefore, it's two separate maisim. I can decide, I can finish by Aleph. I can write base, yes, no. I can decide whatever I want. And therefore, there are separate maisim, both within my koyach and my forgetting in the middle, separate them into two. As opposed to Aval Hocha, the Ein Beyodoloi. Here, according to Rove, we're talking about a guy who threw it, not walked with it. And once it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. Loi. Then we're going to say, no, it's not the same. And you're going to really be, according to Rove, you're going to be chayev. You'll be chayev. You'll be chayev. Why? Because you started off how? Be shogeg. Ended be shoigeg, out of your hand. If it's my veer, it's in your hand still. Because we're talking here about zoyrek, right? And Rove says you're chayev. Why? Simple, like we said before. You threw it to Amos. The middle stage of Mazid, it was out of your hands. You're not in control. At the end, it landed with shogeg again. That's all we need. As we said before, we need heads and tails. Shogeg. Now, again, I repeat. Over there, in the case of Ksiva, I write. Then I'm a free person. I can still write. I'm in control. My mind and my actions, I could write in the middle between 9 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock in the morning. I could if I wanted to, right? I chose yes, no, remember. It makes a difference. Here, when they're remembering in the middle, the baseball, how do you call it? The baseball ball was flying in the air. It's out of my control. Not affecting Bichlal. And the fact that the end, it ended up with my forgetting, chayav started with Akira b'shoigeg, Hanoch b'shoigeg, 2 and 2. Everyone would agree I'm chayav together. And Rav and Rabba are not arguing. One of them spoke about walking when you can still make a difference. And therefore, we can still make a difference. Let's repeat. What the first opinion says, I'm walking. 1, 2. It's Shabbos, and I continue b'mezid 3, 4. Then we say, it's in my hands, and I choose actively to act b'mezid. Then what? At that happy moment, I'm Potter from Korban. I'm doing it. I'm in control, and I'm doing shogeg and then mezid, and I switched in the middle, and I'm still acting. That's acting b'shogeg, acting b'mezid. You're Potter. The second case, it's flying in the air. And therefore, since at the end, I don't care what you thought in the middle. We care about the Maisa, the beginning, the Akira. The end, which is anocha, we're both done b'shogeg. That's all we care about. I have some more lomdus here, but I want to finish the Omud, and then I'll tell you, I think, the deeper pshat here. We're forced to finish the Omud, and it's 10 minutes to my riv. So let's continue. And then if we have time, I have some lomdus here to add, a little bit more be'iyun. Omar Rabba. Zorak, Rabbi is telling us something surprising, which seems to contradict what we saw in the Reisha. Omar Rabba. Zorak v'nocha b'fia kelev. A person threw an item and it rested at the end. Where did it end up? In the mouth of a dog. The mouth of a dog is less than 4x4. Oh, b'fia kivshan. It's now in the furnace burning. If it's burning, it's not resting. Chayav. Says Rabba, you chayav on a kiran anocha in the street, daladamis you chayav, even though it ended up in all these crazy places. Excuse me. Yeah. We said that if another person catches it, or a dog, less than 4x4, or fire, 0x4, nisrafa, you potter. Sakin Rabba say chayav. Answers the Gemara, it's not the same. Let me explain. In the Mishnah, we say, listen, you need 4x4. The mouth of the dog, the poodle, is not 4x4. And therefore, now, in the Reisha, you don't have specific kavanah to throw it to the mouth of the dog. In the Reisha, you're not feeding the dog. You're not playing ball with the dog or, training it. Like we said, if you dap him and go, B'chol mokum shetir tzetanuach. I'm throwing stuff on Shabbos, playing games. The dog caught it. Hey, how cute. I don't mind dafka. So, you don't have 4x4. You're not chayav. The case of Rabba is, I want to throw it only, and nothing but the dog's mouth. I want to feed him. I want to play with him. I'm aiming to the dog's mouth. Because I do that, believe it or not, that's machshiv. I don't know if you remember Daf Hey or Medalef in the bottom. That's machshiv, the mouth of the dog, as if it's Dalit by Dalit. If I give chashivus to a place and I say, that's my target, I am a sniper, I want to train the dog to get to the mouth of the dog, although it's physical, that's in 4x4. What's 4x4? Chashivus, I gave it chashivus. Because I gave it chashivus, it's ke'ilu 4x4 and I'm chayav. And unbelievable, even by fire. If I want it to burn, right, and it's consuming, I want it, in order to burn, it has to be in the fire, right? So I want it to land on the fire. And although 3 seconds later it will burn, that hanach is what I want. Although it will be consumed later, therefore I'm chayav. Vashenkin in the reish of the Mishnah, stam, I'm throwing, it burns, I don't care. Then, since there's no objective 4x4, I'm potter. We have to continue. Amar Bevai Bar Abaye says, Afanana Miknino. We also learned this in the Mishnah, a similar concept. Sometimes the person can eat one kazais, and by mistake he's doing an avera. He has 4 chatas. 4 chatos in one go, 4 different sins which bring korban chatas and 1 korban osham. What is it? Hatome shochal chaylev. It's mukdoshin. Etome iti mukdoshim is 1 avera. Shochal chaylev, that's avera number 2. It's a kol. It's a choygig chatas. Vunoisol. It's leftover korban number 3. Mina mukdoshin. That's number 4. Beyom kippurim on Yom Kippur. So many things, amazing. So he has 4 plus 1 osham. I wish I had time to explain more, but I don't. Lemaisa. He's now chayav on 5 different averas. Now the main point is what Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir oimer afi moisu Shabbos v'tziu b'fiv chayav. Rabbi Meir says, I have number 6. Let's say the guy eats this supercharged avera, which is 5 averas on Shabbos. As he's walking while eating. He's walking to the street while eating. Not so nice, but he does. And you put it in your mouth. You chayav on hanocha. You maniach in your own mouth. Omrloi eina min Hashem. Chachamim say you may be right, but it's not connected to Isur Achila. It's connected to Isur Shabbos. It's not forbidden food. Therefore, it's true, but it's not connected to the issue. But Zok Gemara, wait, why is Rabbi Meir correct at all? V'amai, ha'en derechotza bekach. What do you mean? If I put something in my mouth, I'm chayev. My mouth is not that big. It's not daled tfachim. Ela kem dekamichaven machshavta meshav lemokoim. Ochanami here too. Kem dekamichaven machshavta meshav lemokoim. What do you mechaven? Can you eat through your ear? No. Can you eat through your eyes? No. You can eat through your mouth. Sadly so, we didn't find a high-tech AI solution for that. We eat through our mouth. Baruch Hashem, you should thank Hashem, not through the zonda in the hospital. since you eat through your mouth and you're eating the whichever food through your mouth, and that's the only place you can eat, that gives it super extra chashivus. I don't care that it's not 4 by 4 tefachim. It's very, very, very chashuv mitzad, the functionality of it and the exclusiveness of it. You're machshav because you want to eat it. If in a chinam you want to put something in your body, many times I'm stuck with something, I put it in one pocket, the other pocket, right? I don't care which pocket. Mouth, there's only one, not two. Baruch Hashem, there aren't two mouths. Yeah, Mimela what? Mimela, that case, we say that it's chayav on hanocha. And that's exactly what Rabbi is saying. You throw into the dog because you want only by the dog, by the fire. The only thing you can burn is fire, nothing else. You want it dafka by the fire, you chayav even though it's less than 4 by 4. The lomdus I will tell you later, Bli Neder, or on Monday, but there is a very nice idea that I have, but there's no time now. I really have to get myself ready for my Thank you to people on Torah Anytime. Thank you to everyone that came here. I'm Akiva, and we have a lot of Akivas in this year. Baruch Hashem. Is any Akiva watching us on Torah Anytime? Atzlacha uvra.